Federal Reserve, a private corporation, is not part of the U.S. government and defined by Black's Law Dictionary as a network of 12 central banks to which most banks belong. This was explained in more detail in the case of Lewis versus United States, Federal Reporter, 2nd Series, Volume 680, pages 1239, 1241 in 1982 court, where the court said, each Federal Reserve Bank is a separate corporation owned by commercial banks in its region. The stock-holding commercial banks elect 2/3 of each bank's 9-member board of directors. Taking another look at Black's Law Dictionary, we find that these privately owned banks actually create and issue money. Federal Reserve Act of 1913 by President Wilson, law which created Federal Reserve banks which act as agents in maintaining money reserves, issuing money in the form of banknotes, lending money to banks, and supervising banks in the form of debt instruments. The Fed banks, which are privately owned, actually issue, that is, create, the money we use from your signature. And that signature monetization comes from your birth certificate bond that the government sold and is selling on the stock market as we speak. In 1964, the House Committee on Banking and Currency, Subcommittee on Domestic Finance, at the second session of the 88th Congress, put out a study entitled Money Facts, which contains a good description of what the Fed is. Quote, the Federal Reserve is a total money-making machine. It can issue money or checks, create money or checks, and it never has a problem of making its checks good because it can obtain the $5 and $10, $20, $50, $100 bills necessary to cover its check simply by asking the Treasury Department's Bureau of Engraving to print them. As we know, anyone who has a lot of money has a lot of power. Now imagine a group of people who have the power to create money as a private corporation and against the constitutional laws and Congress. Imagine the power these bankers have. The Federal Reserve banks and bankers rob you every day in the form of presumed loans, where they rob you of both principal and interest that you have to pay back with your hard-earned labor, energy, and collateral, which is you, with their bank promissory notes called dollars, which are debt instruments. Did you know that there is another kind of money, legal tender, U.S. currency, and promissory note that pays your debts at debtloanpayoff.com? This IPN allows the banks to create money to pay off your debts and loans. Go to www.debtloanpayoff.com now and pay off your debts.